if you want to avoid having any regrets after your wedding day, then you need to watch this video. I'm Ria, wedding stationery designer and stylist, and I love helping couples like you have fun while you plan your wedding. So in today's video, I am going to be sharing 5 of my biggest wedding regrets. Now, before we get started, I just want to say that I had the most amazing wedding day. Everything was more than I could have hoped for, and we just enjoyed the whole planning process on the run up to it as well as the day itself. But I think it's quite normal after you've been married a little while to look back and think about how you would have maybe changed things if you had the opportunity again. So I'm sharing some of my wedding regrets with you. So hopefully you can consider these for your own wedding, hopefully avoid regretting them. So I'm kicking off with my biggest wedding regret, which is not having a videographer. Now, don't get me wrong, we had an amazing photographer who took some wonderful pictures and really captured our love story throughout the day, which was incredible. And we have the most gorgeous album to look through and a large selection of photos to print out ourselves and to look through, which we do every anniversary. But I have to say that I do wish that I had more video, because a few of our family members actually captured some snippets of video on their phone throughout the day. And one in particular was of our first dance. There's a lovely clip of my husband swinging me round when we're doing our first dance, and it's just so magical, one of the most treasured pieces of details from our day that I absolutely love. I just think, you know, with video, they capture an emotion that you just can't get from a photo. Definitely consider spending the money on a good videographer and you won't regret that. So on to my second wedding regret, which is not doing a speech myself. Now, I really wanted to do a speech at the time, and the closer it got, I just didn't feel confident enough to stand up in front of all my family and friends to deliver this speech. But I really do think with some practice I would have been able to do it, but I just didn't feel confident, and it's such a shame that I didn't get to do it. I just felt that, you know, me and my husband had planned the wedding together, and it was such a team effort because you know, we'd put a lot of time into it, and I just felt that it would have been nice to have both spoken. And he did a fantastic job, and he had everyone in stitches, and you know, he really told our love story really well, and it was a speech I will never forget. So my advice is, if you really want to do a speech yourself, then just practice in front of the mirror, practice in front of a friend, so you get used to talking in front of people, and then on the day you will be prepared and you will be fine. So my third regret is keeping it a secret. Now, obviously our wedding wasn't a secret. Everybody knew we were getting married, and they knew where the wedding was location wise, but they didn't know we were having teepees. When we went to view the teepees back in 2013, there wasn't really a lot of that kind of thing around. Like, I knew I wanted a marquee wedding, and when I saw the teepees in a magazine, I was like, that's what I want. Because it was something different and something I'd not really seen before. There definitely wasn't anything like that around our area at the time. So when we took our mums to look at the teepees in York, the first time we ever walked in them was just a magical experience. It was a new experience, it was exciting, it was just magical, it was just a really lovely feeling. And after we came out from that visit, we all decided that we wanted everybody, all of our guests, to feel exactly the same way. And we felt like if we told everybody that's what we were having, they'd be looking on the internet, what is the teepee? And it would kind of just like ruin it ahead of time and take away that magic. So we decided to keep it to ourselves. So only our 2 mums knew. My dad didn't even know. So yeah, it was really hard keeping it a secret as we went along. We knew why we were doing it, But ultimately, I feel like now I look back, I think about if I had told a few more people who were really close to me, then it would have been nice for them to have helped at different stages in the planning, and not just for me, for them, because, you know, they probably felt a little bit left out because we was having to have like private discussions, top secret, about what we were going to be doing. So that's one thing that I do regret, is definitely not telling my close family members like my brothers and my dad. And I just think that it would have like enhanced their joy of it all coming together. But it was all good on the day. My dad saw the teepees and his eyes filled up with tears, and it was the reaction we was wanting, but obviously at the expense of not having them like included in the planning process. So if you're planning a surprise, make sure that you're not going to regret anything later on because of affecting maybe other people's feelings. So my fourth regret is having a big buffet in the evening when we didn't need it. We had too much food. It was just ridiculous. So we got married about 3 o'clock and had our dinner about 5:30, and by the time everybody had finished, our evening guests were starting to arrive. So obviously our evening guests would be feeling a little bit hungry around 7, half 7. Therefore the evening buffet got brought out, and there was just so much of it. Of course, everybody else was stuffed. We'd had a barbecue, it was a buffet, you could just go up as many times as you wanted. And then we had desserts, we had a few different gâteaux, and we had like an ice cream bite come with different flavoured ice creams to choose from. So by the time it got to the evening, my day guests just did not want to eat. So definitely organised too much food, but I was just worried that everybody was going to be hungry, so we did make sure we had plenty. But I don't think I've ever been to a wedding where there hasn't been any waste when it comes to the food. I think it's just really hard to calculate, and it's really difficult to know how hungry your guests are going to be. So this is just something to consider when you're thinking about what extra food to bring out and how much, because the last thing you want is throwing food away. And my fifth regret is not chatting to my wedding guests enough. So I think every couple probably feels a little bit like this, that they don't get to chat to everybody. Depending on how many guests you have, there's no way you are going to get round to everybody. I managed to chat to everybody. I managed to go around all the tables before like the evening kind of kicked off. So after I'd eaten, I went round and I spoke to every table, and I think my husband did the same. He was better at me at talking to all the guests. I was on the dance floor, and the trouble was we did our own playlist, so I pretty much liked every song going. So I was continually up there having a good time, dancing the night away. So if any of my guests wanted to come and chat to me, they just had to come on the dance floor because I was not moving. So if I had to do it all over again, I would definitely have considered taking more breathers, and then I could have gone and chat to people for a little while. But, you know, I was having a good time, and I'm sure my guests didn't really mind. And a lot of them were like, we didn't invite people who, you know, we didn't really see that much. So most of my family and friends that came are people that I see all the time. If you're considering how you're going to handle this, you could maybe talk to the people who don't really see much of a little bit more, because the other guests are probably people that you see all the time anyway. So there you are, those are my 5 biggest wedding regrets. I hope it has helped you some way, hearing me talk about my regrets, so that you can consider them yourself and hopefully avoid any regrets in the future. Please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you'll be notified of any new videos that go live. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week.